Hello and welcome to Experimenting with MrTieDye. So I've done the Charlie Brown shirt many times years ago, and I've had a few requests to make a video for it. And it's just kind of a simple fold, but even more recently I got a request for a reverse Charlie Brown t-shirt, and that sparked some ideas, got the creativity juices flowing. And in meditation, I saw a couple different visions for it. One would be a yellow t-shirt with the black line through it, the typical Charlie Brown t-shirt. But then the other one would be to have a black shirt with a yellow stripe, the zigzaggy stripe through it. So what I'm going to do in this video is both of them. Just because I like to play with new ideas. Not quite sure just how it will work, but we're just going to go for it and see what happens. So what I've done here is I've started with a black t-shirt. I did a pre-wash on it. I spun it out so it's just barely damp with just plain water. That's my preferred method for folding. I know some people fold them dry. That's a possibility too. Just my own personal preference. I like it wet because I just find it easier to hold things together. So anyway, so we're going to fold this up wet. First thing you need to do is draw your Charlie Brown line on there. What I did was just kind of a simple, I just figured out the channel of where I want it. It's usually on the lower part of the t-shirt. I kind of didn't want mine to come up above the armpit level. So I drew my line down here, giving myself, I'm going to probably tie this out a couple inches on either side of this line. So I just want to make sure. So I just kind of drew a channel in here. You don't have to do that. You can just draw your line on and go for it. But the way that I did mine then is I put 90-degree corners on. You don't have to pick 90 degree. You can just draw your own zigzag line. The 90 degree was just how I chose to do it. And what I did was I just marked, I think it was 5.5 inches on two sides of a 90-degree corner here. And then I just laid that on my top line here. So, oh no, I guess I didn't. I laid it here. So I lined it up here and just drew my line down, and then I flipped this over the other direction and finished my other line out here. So that's how I drew mine on there. You can draw yours on however you like. Anyway, so we're going to get started here. I'm going to fold. Oh, I also centered the t-shirt so I have the back and the front separated. That's just my preferred method for trying to get things more even. That just puts the two sides of the front together and the two sides of the back together. So whatever happens on those, it's going to be more similar than if you just folded the tee straight in half and had two layers of the front or the back in between. Anyway, we're just going to go for this. So I'm going to do little pleats on this here and just folding. Let me turn around here. I'm just lining my lines up here on top. I'm folding little short ones because, like I say, we're going to do a reverse. I want to make sure that the out white bright gets in there really good. Okay. And the way that I like to fold, if I'm going to do a 90-degree corner here, so I'm going from this direction to this direction, so I'm folding at 90 degrees, I like to end my pleats where the end of this run, which would be this line right here, is on the downward side, so that the other side I can fold it up at a 45-degree angle. So as I get close to that line, you have to kind of adjust your pleats just a little bit. So I can back that up, and now this line is on the downward side down here. So this here is the end of that line. And now this other line, I'm going to fold it up and around. So basically this line here is going to be lined straight up here. So I just reach under here. And I know this is hard. I've promised I still haven't done it, but I will make a video where I do a bigger version of this. But basically, I'm just lining this line up over here, and you have to just kind of fold it up, match it into place, and it creates just this other little pleat in here. But now it has me folding, continuing my line here. So once I get that lined up nice and flat there, And it does take a little bit of manipulating the fabric around to get that 90-degree corner in there, and like I say, the extra little pleat here. But now I can continue my run and just continuing to line that up in the same manner, just trying to keep that as straight as possible on top. And then we'll do that one more time. So as I get closer, I just kind of adjust my pleats so that this here is on the downward side. Okay, one more time. So I reach under, and this line here, I'm going to fold it up and around and lay it flat against there. And that's the one advantage of folding the Charlie Brown tee in half, is you only have to do a few of these. Otherwise, if you laid it out across there, it goes zigzag back and forth several times. So this here just cuts the number of times that you have to do these 90-degree corners, or tighter. I mean, if you do a tighter zigzag, then you'll have an even sharper corner that you need to fold around. So that would be another reason to choose a 90-degree corner or less, because it's just easier to fold around those. Alright, enough rambling. Let's get this done. Okay, so there's my line. I tried to keep my line. Oh, and what I use to draw on, I guess I didn't say that before, is a dry erase crayon. And you can buy them. I found these on Amazon. But the dry erase crayon then washes out just in your regular laundry. You don't have to do anything special to get that out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is tie this off. Like I say, this is going to be the one that I'm going to preserve a black line and tie the rest of it. So I'm going to tie several layers, and I'm going to expand out from my line. So I'm probably going to tie like an inch on either side of this line. So I'm going to draw 2 more lines on here. This here is going to be the width of my Charlie Brown line on my t-shirt. This here is going to stay black. And the rest of the t-shirt, hopefully, I'm going to use out white bright and remove all of the rest of the color. So I tie this up. I usually try to wrap it around a couple times and start pulling that tight. And now I'm going to expand out to my other line here. Tighten that up just a little bit. And I haven't done a full strong pull on this, mostly because I want to get both sides of this. I don't want it to go wonky. If you pull too tight over here, this side is going to go wonky. So I'm going to get this one tied in, and then I'm going to really tighten all of this down. Alright, so that's looking a little better. Like I say, this here is the center part where we folded the line, and then I extended that out. So now what I'm going to do is just kind of tie, pull and tighten all the way along in between these 2 lines of sinew here. I want to tighten this whole area up. So I'm just kind of wrapping around a few times and then pulling that tight, and just wrap it a few more times, and it's loosening some of these other earlier things up. That's fine. I'm just trying to make sure that I get all of these areas of the black in between here condensed and tightened, because as you tighten this up, the out white bright can't get into this tightened area to remove any color. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just preserve that as much as I can. And there might be a few spots that come out just because you can peek through and see little bits of the black. But when you look at the Charlie Brown t-shirt, there is just a little bit of that line looking thing on there, so this might even make it more authentic this way rather than a completely solid black line. It's going to have just a few little specks in it. Anyway, well, I guess I'm done wrapping. Alright, so there's my Charlie Brown stripe there. So I'm going to go ahead and call that good right there. And I'm going to tie up the other t-shirt. So I'm going to do it in a similar fashion here. Okay, here's my other tee. This one here also has been pre-washed, spun out, so it's just barely damp with just plain water on it. And I'm going to do the same process of drawing the lines on, folding it up, but I'm going to do it in super speed mode here. So I'm drawing another line here about 1.5 inches down. And then that's where I'm lining my 2 lines up here. Okay, I decided to tie this one with kite string just because I'm going to try to remove the color just from the line here, and tying it with the sinew is making everything go kind of wonky. So I think it'll work better with kite string. Okay, I'm going to try to block off some of this area here, because like I say, we want to remove color just from the line here. And this might be just a little bit wonky, so, but we're just going to go for it. Okay, so what I did is I wrapped tape around here, just trying to keep some of the out white bright on there. But since I'm going to be pouring boiling water on there, it's going to run. So I tried to use the kite string just to kind of tighten this tape up a little bit. I'm going to try to put just minimal amount of water on there to get the color to come out. But like I say, this is an experiment, so we're just going to go for it and see what happens here. So stay tuned while I heat the water. Okay. We're back. We're going to try and do both of these at the same time also. So this one here, since I'm removing all of the color from it except for the black line, I'm putting it in this bin, and I'm going to sprinkle out white bright on it. This here is product I found in the in the store, like a Walmart, but I found it on the bleach aisle. So anyways, I'm going to use the out white bright. I'm going to coat this on the bottom here, and then I'm going to put this rack over top, and I'm going to put just a little bit just on here, and then I'm going to try to be very precise with my pouring and pour just on this area here, see if I can remove just that color. But I'm going to, in the end, fill up the tub down here so that that can soak for a while and get it out of the whole tea. I'm explaining this all ahead of time because since I'm working inside, I do have my window open here, but I'm going to be wearing a dust mask just to protect from the extra fine particles from that. So let me get started. Oh, and my water is already heated. I checked it. It's at 200 degrees. So as soon as I put my White Bright on, I'm going to go right into pouring the water on. So stay tuned here. Alrighty, I probably used more of the White Bright than I needed to. I got a little bit sloppy with it, but sometimes experiments are that way. And we'll see if we can get this t-shirt light enough that ultimately I would like to dye it yellow. Oop. Quit splashing that stuff. So I'm just going to keep soaking this for a while, and then we'll come back to it here. Now the one thing without White Bright, I could have just did a really good rinse. I would have soaked it, squeezed it out, soaked it, several times, and then I could have soaked it in soda ash and went right into dyeing it. But with the two teas, I wanted to open them all the way up so that when I do dye it, I can get dye into all of the different little spots in here that might not soak in. So anyway, there's our Charlie Brown line. Let's open it all the way up and see what we got here. So there's a Reverse Charlie Brown t-shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and wash this and then soak it in soda ash, come back, and then we're going to add some dye to it. So that's the point that we'll come back to this. But for now, let's look at the other one. And there's the other Reverse Charlie Brown. So after these are dyed, then they will go into my store. They'll be for sale. This one here is a large. It's going to be yellow with a black line. And this one here is an extra large, and it's going to be black with a yellow line. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back to dye the Charlie Brown tees. So this first one here, this is one that I tied up and got the solid black line. Actually, there's not completely solid. I knew I was going to get just a little bit of this because there was a little bit that the t-shirt that was poking through. But it did block most of that. And I could have gone ahead and just rinsed it good and dyed it. And then this part here, but I want color to be in this here. Otherwise, we would have had color shining through there. So anyways, You can fold this up in any method. You could even just stick this in a tub, crumple it up, squirt dye on it, and just kind of squish it around. But I'm going to fold it in half and then scrunch it. That's just my personal preference for this. But like I say, you could fold this up in any manner and apply dye to it. Now we're going to tie up the other one. This one here, I'm going to do it a little differently. Since most of the tea is black on this one, I'm not going to scrunch it up because then applying dye will be more of a pain. I don't need to put dye in all of these black areas. I need to just put dye just in this area here. So this one here, I'm just going to leave it laid out flat. I'm not going to fold it in half. And I'm just going to kind of loosely scrunch up this area here so that I can apply dye just in this area. Oh, and these have also been, I pre-soaked them after I did my washout. Then I soaked them in soda ash for 20 minutes, spun them out so they're just barely damp. So now I'm just going to just kind of loosely gather this up. It doesn't need to be precise. I just want to apply dye mostly into just this one little skinny area here. So I'm going to tie this up with some kite string to hold it in place, and then we're going to put some dye on these t-shirts. Okay, we'll go ahead and dye this one first. Like I say, I'm just going to put dye just on the white, the bleached out areas, or the out white bright. I didn't use bleach. And then this one's easy enough to kind of just open these creases up. I did just a really loose fold on this. I just want to make sure that I don't have any white spots in there. And the nice thing, I don't have to worry about wiping up the table because the rest of the t-shirt is black. So I'm just looking to see if there's any white spots or the light tan. But that looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and batch this for 48 hours. And we're going to dye this next one. And this one here, we're going to dye just in the solid yellow. So I'm just going to just dye the whole thing and then do the other, you know, check it really well to make sure I don't have any light tan spots in there. Okay, now I'm just going to open up and look, and I can see just a little bit down in there. So any of those light tan spots, I'm just going to squeeze some dye in. But you can also just take this here and just give it a good squeeze. And that'll help move the dye around in there because we just want everything that's not black to be yellow. And as I squeeze this, I can see the dye kind of puddle up, so I know it's moving around in the tea. That's one nice thing when you're doing a one solid color. You can squish it around to move the dye that's in there all the way around in the shirt. So I think that's good. We're going to go ahead and batch this for 48 hours, and you guys will see the results here in about 2 seconds. Thank you for watching.